Hello everyone, and welcome to another Bachata Rockstar Hearthstone video. Finally the internet is working. Finally I have some free time. I'm so glad. I've been meaning to talk about Journey to Ungoro for a long time. This video is current as of the 27th of March at about 5:30 in the morning. I've also been working graveyard, so this is my normal time now. Super excited for this set. Always excited for any expansion. Very glad that I finally get to give my opinions and analysis on these things. I've been following along. Like I said, I haven't really had time to do anything. But here we go. Fuck it, let's get into the cards and let's do this. 1-mana Hunter card, Small Raptor. It's a 2-1 with a Death Rattle. Shuffle a 4-3 Raptor into your deck. Now, the Raptor is a 1-mana 4-3. Pretty good. So, what does this do? This is very, very good for the Hunter quest that's coming up. Let's see if I can show it to you now. There it is, the Marsh Queen. So you play 7/1 cost minions, and it summons Queen Carnassa. Queen Carnassa is a 5-mana 8/8 that shovels 15 1-drop raptors into your deck. Now, not small raptors, these are just raptor tokens. They're 1-mana 3/2s that draw a card. I don't know if they're on here or not. Probably not. And so this card fuels that quest. You're trying to play a bunch of 1-drops. This is a 1-drop that shuffles a 1-drop into your deck. Pretty awesome. The only problem is if you shuffle the 1-mana 4-3 Raptor into your deck and then you summon Queen Carnassa, it might stop the draw train going. Because like I said, the Raptors that Queen Carnassa shovels in are 1-mana 3/2s, but they have Battle Cry, draw a card. So you're essentially just cycling them for 1 mana and dumping 3/2s on the board. And so you want to actually draw the 1-mana 4-3 Raptor before you play Queen Carnassa, so that way you get the body and it satisfies one more point towards completing the quest, but it's not going to be drawn after the quest is finished, so yeah. So that's kind of RNG, and that's going to be something I have to figure out. So what I really wanted to do with this video was do what I like to call best, worst, actual. And when I thought about cards and did my analysis for Mean Streets of Gadget Zan, one of the things I realized I wasn't doing was I was kind of always thinking about the best case scenario. And the problem is that the best case scenario is not going to come up all the time. In fact, it's rare. But also the worst case scenario is not going to come up all the time. That's also rare. And so what you really kind of want to focus on is how often is this going to be beneficial to me in average scenarios. So, best case scenario, Small Raptor on turn 1. You play the Queen Carnassa quest, Marsh Queen. Turn 2, you play Small Raptor and another 1-drop. Turn 3, this guy dies. Turn 3, you draw the 1-mana 4/3, you play that, you play some other 1-drops. Turn 4, you play some more 1-drops. Just swarm in the deck. And you get Queen Carnassa into your hand. Turn 5, you drop her. Shuffle the Raptors into your deck. Turn 6, you draw a Raptor. You cycle 6 Raptors. You attack. You go face. You swarm. Could this work? Yeah, I think it could. But you're going to have to make a deck that really fits into this. And I can think of a couple of different ways to do it. One, you either make a deck that's just almost all 1-drops, so that way you pretty much guarantee that you get Queen Carnassa on 5, and you just smork the shit out of your opponent, and hope that RNG works in your favor, and that you win a bunch of coin flips and get a bunch of 3/2s out there and go face, and that your opponent doesn't have sufficient AoE to clear them out. Problem is, these Raptors are all 3/2s, so any sort of Consecration, Volcanic Potion, AoE effect that does at least 2 damage, Holy Nova, will clear your board. So I question whether this will actually go off with any consistency. Now the good news is if your opponent only has 1 board clear, you can refill your board with a bunch of Raptors. And so that's sort of the idea, is that you're going to continuously refill your board. If you have 15 Raptors in your deck, and let's say you refill your board with 5 of them each time. I know that's a lot, but bear with me. So you're going to have 5 rows, right, or three waves of raptors and other 1-drops, various 1-drops, coming at your opponent. There's no way your opponent has 3 fucking board clears within 3 rounds after turn 5. I mean, it's almost impossible. And if they do, good luck to them. But the likelihood of that happening enough times to where you wouldn't have a positive win rate with that deck, pretty hard to pull off. You know, you're just kind of playing the percentages here. So my guess is that if you're able to build your deck properly, you should be able to pull off the Queen Carnassa quest on turn 5, 6, or 7 pretty darn regularly. Now, the other thing I can think of doing is playing a more slower, a little more mid-rangey kind of deck. Have maybe 10 1-drops in there. Or, you know, obviously 1-drops that create 1-drops, like this small raptor here. This guy right here. And then using other various 1-drops like this Glacial Shard or this Firefly that adds a 1-drop to your hand. I think this is going to be really, really useful coming up. And things like that. So even if you only have 10 1-drops, you have 1-drops that create other 1-drops, and then you can play those 1-drops, and then you'll probably pull off Queen Carnassa around turn 8, 9, or 10. And then you'll just refill your board from there and keep going, and then just eventually overwhelm your opponent with wave upon wave of Dinosaur. And so I actually do think this deck is going to be pretty good. My only concern is its consistency. And yes, you are giving up turn 1 to play this. Yes, you are fashioning your deck entirely around this. But I do think it will create some really neat deck building options. And I think Small Raptor will become a nice part of the Queen Carnassa Marsh Queen's deck. So overall, you know, like I said, worst case scenario is you just don't draw your 1-drops, or you build a deck full of 1-drops and you low roll all the time. And, you know, you keep coin flipping to try to get those raptors. And when I say coin flipping, it shuffles 15 raptors into your deck. And so if your deck has another 15 cards behind that, which it probably will by the time turn 5 or 6 rolls around, maybe more, it's about 40 to 50% for you to draw a raptor each time you play a raptor, right? You play a raptor, you draw a card. So if you don't draw a card that can draw a card, i.e. a raptor or something else with card draw, you're fucked. You have to just play the 1-drop and move on, or play whatever card you draw and move on. And so if you play a more mid-rangey style, you're far more likely to have your draws stop on something that's actually strong. Where if you go all in on the 1-drop minions, when you actually make you're going to get Queen Carnassa earlier, but your draws are going to be weaker because you might get like 1 raptor and then a 1-drop, and then that's it. And you're not really like refilling your board, and it's easy for your opponent to kind of take care of that. Once they kill off Queen Carnassa, you're only dropping a 1-drop and a 1-drop, or a 1-drop, 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 and then you're going to eventually fall behind to a control deck. And so that's really the thing, is you got a high roll on a lot of your draws, so you can like fill your board with raptors, and then it's a lot harder for them to deal with it. So it's really just going to depend on how consistent you can draw your 1-drops, continually refill your board, and force your opponent to just exhaust all his resources. My guess is this deck will actually work, but not quite be as bonkers as people seem to think it's going to be. I'm going to give the Small Raptor a 10 for the Queen Carnassa deck, because I think it's perfect, and I think it's going to totally work for that deck. However, the Queen Carnassa deck in total, I'm going to give an 8. Moving on. Probably one of my favorite cards in the set. The Glacial Shard. 1 mana, 3/2, Battle Cry, freeze an enemy. This is a neutral minion elemental. So, it satisfies all the elemental things. What are the elemental things? Basically, elementals are play at least 1 elemental on the turn before you play this elemental effect. So, if I play an elemental on turn 1, and on turn 2, I play something that says gain 3 attack if you played an elemental the turn before, then that would become activated. And so you need to set your turns up to play an elemental first, then play the thing that gets activated for you having played an elemental. Now, oftentimes the elementals also are being activated by elementals. And hence this card, the Glacial Shard, and the card coming up after it, the Firefly, create that elemental train, because they're 1-drop elementals that you can play and then use them to set up for a bigger turn coming up. The nice part about this card is it's got a fucking freeze effect on a 1-drop. How powerful is that? You can drop on turn 6, you can drop a big 5-drop, freeze their shit. Like, the gain and savings is ridiculous with this card. And it's an elemental, so it triggers all your other elementals. This card is fantastic. This card is going to be a double auto-include in anything that has to do with elementals, and pretty much anything that just wants a nice freeze effect. We might actually see Freeze Mage, Frozen Mage, become a thing. Shatter might become a card with this card. Like, mind-blowing, right? Those are best case scenarios. Let's go worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, this just becomes a 1-mana 2/1 that freezes your opponent's face and they don't even have a weapon and it doesn't matter. This card against Mage is terrible. They don't play a lot of minions, and you're just going to freeze their fucking face, and it doesn't matter. And then they can just be pinged off later. But the good news is, as an elemental, it's always going to activate your elemental synergy. So that's kind of nice. My only thing with this is I would say that the freeze effect is very strong. The body attached to it is very weak. So you're not really playing it for the body. You're really just kind of playing it as a 1-mana freeze effect and get an elemental. You know, it's a terrible top deck. It's not terrible. I mean, it's a pretty good top deck, right? You top deck it, you freeze one of the things. Hopefully you don't die. And then you just move on. You move on with your life, and hopefully you top deck something else. But I really like the card. I think it's very versatile. I think it's going to really help a lot of decks. And I think it's great. I think it's a 9 out of 10. And it's going to see a lot of play. Ton of play. Great card. Love it. And I got the same things to say about this card. Firefly. 1-mana, 1/2, battle cry, add a 1/2 elemental to your hand. Now, unfortunately, the elemental it adds to your hand is just a flame elemental. It's not another Firefly. So this is an elemental that creates an elemental and puts it in your hand. Now, normally I'd be like, what the fuck? Put it on the battlefield. Give me 2 1/2s. It'd be awesome. I'll play the shit out of that card. I don't want to get another thing that costs another 1 mana and then I have to play later. What's the point of that? So, here's the point of that. 1. It's an elemental. So, it will trigger anything on turn 2, or later, depending upon whatever turn you play it on, will trigger elemental effects. 2. It puts another elemental into your hand, which can later on trigger other elemental effects. 3. It's a 1-drop. It's cheap, but it's got a 1/2 body. That's not bad on turn 1. It's not bad. And I'll take it. I'll take it. And it can be squeezed in to a lot of different things. And so this card and Glacial Shard are there to really allow you to have elementals effects come into play pretty much whenever you need it. You know, if you're setting up for a nice turn 7 huge elemental play, on turn 6 you can play Firefly and a 5-drop. There you go. You know, it squeezes in really nice and creates elemental effects pretty much on demand when you need it. And it's nice to have those 2 activations when you need it. So, I think this card is great. I think it's going to... this and Glacial Shard are going to be pretty much auto-includes in any deck that has any sort of elemental synergy, and any deck that has some sort of 1-drop synergy. Hunter! Hunter! I would double include Firefly and Glacial Shard in that deck, as well as in Rogue decks, which will be coming up, and we'll show you the quest on that one, which will make more sense. But Firefly, awesome card, perfect card, well-designed card, 10 out of 10. You know, my only problem with it is shitty top deck later on. I mean, it's just, you know, you get a 1/2 and then another 1/2. Like, yay. That's not really saving you. Like, it's a utility card. It's meant to foster other cards' strength. So it's, in a weird way, it's kind of a combo piece. So, yeah. All right, let's move on. Crystalline Oracle. This is a 1-mana 1/1 priest card, Death Rattle. Copy a card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. So guess what? It turns out that priests are better thieves than rogues are thieves, because they're just stealing shit from your deck left and right. Thought Steal, Shifting Shade. This card. I mean, just yoink, 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 yoink. Right? There's another card later on that I think steals cards, or yeah, that will steal a card later on that you'll see, and it's just like, this is the thing now. This is what priests do. They just steal cards from your deck, and I'm actually fine with that because priests kind of suck. So if they use your opponent's cards, then I'm all for it. At least it's a thing, especially because dragons are going away, and I love dragons. This sucks, but I'd say this is a pretty good thing to get rid of it. Plus, it's a death rattle, and what does that do? It satisfies the death rattle quest that priests get, which I will show you. Where is it? There it is, Awaken the Makers, which we saw in the other Journey to Ungoro initial video, right? Summon 7 death rattle minions. Well, guess what? That is a death rattle minion. Oh, shocking. So it's gonna help. It's gonna help a lot. And there's another card coming up that can summon a 1/1 copy of a minion that's already on the board. So if this is already on the board and it gets copied, then that's another death rattle going towards Awaken the Makers. So it all kind of fits together. It all kind of synergizes together. And I feel like this will be a nice card. It's a 1-drop. It's a death rattle. It works. Put it in the deck. Steal your opponent's card. Do your thing. All in all, a good card. You know, kind of this one actually is a crappy top deck. Assuming you've already finished your quest. Because you're not, unlike Babbling Book and unlike Swashbuckler, it's not a battle cry, it's a death rattle. So this thing has to die before you get the card. And who knows if the card even saves you. So, very good tempo play, very good on-curve, after you play your quest kind of play. Like, it's good for that. But it's a niche. It fits a niche role. But it's a 1-drop. It shouldn't be that powerful. And like I said, Firefly and Glacial Shard, I think, are really well balanced because they have really cool effects, but the effects are meant to sort of augment other effects as opposed to just being powerful on their own. Same thing with Crystalline Oracle, right? It's augmenting the quest, and it's a death rattle, and, you know, it's just a 1/1, and so, like, it's helping to do other things as opposed to just being powerful on its own, like a small-time Buccaneer would have, you know, was. 1 mana, 3 tunes, like, fucking here you go. Everybody's got a Flame Imp now. Like, it's too strong. Like that in and of itself with a weapon is just crazy. And it's not that hard to make weapons. And so what I like about this is while it does further the quest takes a little while to complete. And then when it is completed, you know, what you get is fucking bonkers, but it does take some time to finish. And so games are going to take a little longer. And I think overall that's probably better for the game. I remember when I first played it, I liked the idea of games taking 5-6 minutes. But after a while, the more you play, the more you want some intricacy and you want some back and forth and some counterplay. And this is going to provide that. And next we've got the Unite the Murlocs quest for Shaman. Quest summon 10 Murlocs. Your reward is Megafin. Megafin is a 5-mana 8/8 that refills your entire hand with Murlocs. So, what's the problem with Murloc decks? Well, Murloc decks oftentimes just run out of steam. You play all your Murlocs and they get killed by one board wipe, and then you have no more Murlocs and you're fucked. And so this card makes up for that fact and allows you to not be fucked when they clear your board. Plus it gives you a 5-mana 8/8. Yay! Everybody's getting a Fel Reaver! Woohoo! Now notice it says summon, so that means the Murloc Tidecaller will get you 2 activations of this, not just 1. And there's other cards that summon more Murlocs, and Murlocs that play Murlocs, and Finja is going to be awesome with this quest, and, you know, I could see this being good, but I could also see this just being crap. And the fact that it's a Shaman card, I think I'm okay with that. Shaman has been overpowered for the whole last year. And so them getting a quest that's might be kind of mediocre, or at least would send them in a direction that's kind of mediocre, I'm okay with. I'm okay with not printing strong, powerful Shaman cards. And I'll be honest, I think this is one of them. My thinking on this, my analysis on this is actually that it's just not gonna be that good. the Swarm Murloc deck, I don't think it's going to work. And the reason I don't think it's going to work is because this is a 1-mana spell. You have to play it. And so you're actually going to fall behind the tempo that would be necessary in order to make a Murloc deck work, because your opponent is always going to be playing something slightly bigger than the Murlocs that you're playing each time. And as time goes on, he's going to play bigger and bigger stuff, and you're still going to be playing fucking Murlocs. And unfortunately, every Finn is Awesome is rotating out, so you're not going to get to buff your Murlocs either. So your Murlocs are just going to have to survive on their own, and that was always the problem, is Murlocs were traditionally very weak. And unless he leaves your Murlocs alive, and then you can Cold Light Serum, I mean, I just don't see this working. I mean, it's going to be great when you do get Mega Finn, but Mega Finn is a 5-mana 8/8 without Taunt, so it does nothing to affect the board on the turn it's on. Yes, you get to dump a bunch of Murlocs on turn 6, assuming you finish the quest then. But whenever you finish the quest. But honestly, by the time you finish the quest, it might be too late. 10 Murlocs is a lot. Even with Call in the Finishers getting you 4 Murlocs, you still have to cast that twice and then cast 2 other Murlocs. Like, it's going to take a while to get this quest off. So honestly, I just don't think it's very good, and I don't think it's going to go through, Best case scenario, you get it on turn 5. But that's really hard to pull off. And my thinking is you'll probably pull it off around turn 8. And by then, a 5-mana 8/8 may not even be enough. And yes, you may get to refill hand with Murlocs and play 3 more Murlocs, but at that point, your opponent probably already has a great board and is probably already stomping your face. I mean, this quest seems slower to me than even the Priest one. 7 Death Rattles? You know what? That's not that hard anymore, right? We have Loot Hoarders. We have Crystalline Oracles now. We have that 4-mana one that's coming up that you'll see that's, a Death Rattle. Like, you can literally go Death Rattle, Death Rattle, Death Rattle. Like, 1-drop, 2-drop Death Rattle, 2-drop and a 1-drop Death Rattle, 4-drop Death Rattle, 5-drop Death Rattle, done! Like it's not hard to pull off Awaken the Makers, assuming you draw well by, like, turn 6 or 7. And Unite the Murlocs, like I said, I don't think you're going to pull this off until, like, even if you pull this off in turn 6 or 7, what you get for it is not as good as what you would get for the other quests, and I think you're just going to get smashed. So, I don't know. It might be good. I'd have to make the deck. That's the problem, is this deck, the Murloc deck that you would make for this, doesn't strike me as obvious. It doesn't strike me as something where I'm like, oh yeah, well, I can create this deck in like 5 minutes and it'll be good. Like, nah, it doesn't intuitively create itself. It's something that's going to require a lot of work to be good. I think it could be good eventually, but I don't think this is going to be good until like a couple of months into the meta. So, overall, Unite the Murlocs, I'm going to give it a 6. I think it is good. I think it will see play and people will try it, but I question its validity. I question whether it's going to be really good. And there's the Marsh Queen. We talked about that already. I think this will be really good, but again, you're going to have to make the right deck for it. But I have more faith in the Marsh Queen than I do in Unite the Murlocs. Caverns Below. It's the Rogue Quest Legendary. For 1 mana, you need to play 4 minions with the same name, and your reward is the Crystal Core. What's the Crystal Core do? The Crystal Core is, I want to call it an enchantment, but basically it affects your entire board. It can't be removed. It's not even in play. It's not even a minion. But basically what it says is everything on your side of the board is a 5/5. Whoa. Now this is a very unique effect. It's I wouldn't even call it AoE. Like I said, I call it an enchantment because that's sort of what they would be in Magic the Gathering. Just something that affects your entire board. But enchantments can be removed if you have, enchantment removal. This can't be removed once it hits. And 4 minions with the same name. Like, is that hard to pull off? I honestly don't know, really. I think it could be, but it might not be. You play this on turn 1. On turn 2, you can dagger. You do something, I don't know. Whatever. Let's say you play a Swashbuckler. Well, hopefully it doesn't die. Then on turn 3, you can brew it back with a Youthful Brewmaster and play it again. That's 2 activations. So assuming it doesn't die, you can, I don't know, play a 1-drop and then Gadgetzan Ferryman, send it back. Hopefully with a coin, maybe with a counterfeit coin. You play it again, that'd be 3 times. You know, you can bounce the Youthful Brewmasters back. You can bounce the Gadgetzan Ferryman's back. I don't know, maybe bounce a Novice Engineer and get card draw with it. Is there stuff? There's stuff. I don't know. Ancient Brewmaster can send this back, and then that gives you a body on board. You know, I don't think the quest will be hard to pull off, but I do question whether you're going to be alive once you pull it off. Because the quest itself is going to take 5 mana, and so unless you have stuff on the board already, you're going to have to pay that 5 mana and then develop stuff on turn 6. What if you're dead by then? I don't know. What if you don't pull it off by turn 6? Like all these bounce effects, Shadow Step. You're going to need Shadow Step. Like, that card is going to be really good. You're going to need these bounce effects. You're going to need the Gadgetzan Ferryman. You're going to need, there's a card coming up later on that allows you to copy something, copy a card that you draw. And, like, I don't know. I don't know if enough support is here to make this card good. But the effect is ridiculous. Everything's a 5/5 on your board. Now, obviously, if something is stronger than a 5/5 and you play it, it becomes a 5/5. But if something is weaker than a 5/5 and you play it, it becomes a 5/5. Fucking Morose will become a 5/5 that spawns 5/5s. What? Morose good? No fucking way. Like, yeah, Morose will be good. Imp Master. It's a 5/5 that spawns 5/5s. What? What? And the other thing, any buffs that you put onto the 5/5s, they keep. So if you play a 1-drop, let's say you play Sousy Deckhand, it becomes a 5/5. Coldblood, now it's got 13 charge. You can have an OTK deck with a fucking Sousy Deckhand and 2 Coldbloods. Like, what? What? I mean, once the effect is in play, it's awesome. I question whether you'll be able to get the effect into play early enough to where it's going to be the kind of advantage that would win you the game. Because that's what these quests are all about. They're about you completing the quest and winning the game by completing the quest. I don't know if you're going to get this out in time to win the game with the effect. That's my concern. My concern is that by the time you play it, you're going to be so far behind, you're not going to be able to get enough stuff out there to win the game. Right? Pirate Warrior still exists. Pirate Warrior is still good. And a Caverns Burlow deck, I question how strong it's going to be, and I question whether it's going to be able to come back. However, a 5/5 SI7 agent is pretty darn good. A 5/5... Oh, shit, it's rotating out of standard. I was going to say Undercity Valiant is really good. You know, like, there's so many... the Defias Ringleader, right? A 5/5 that summons a 5/5. Like, whoa, shit. You know, any sort of, like, creature that spawns another creature dude, it's going to be good. Pantry Spider, a 5/5 that summons a 5/5 beast. Like, what? That's going to be good in this deck. You know, I know it's 5 mana, but a Silverhand Knight, right? 5/5 summon a 5/5. Like the possibilities are endless. But like I said, how hard is it to play 4 minions with the same name? I don't know. I've never tried to do it before. So that's kind of the hard part, is like these bounce effects. My concern is that you're going to try to do it with 1-drops and 2-drops, and those 1-drops and 2-drops are going to die. And so you're going to play it, bounce it, play it, and then it's dead. So then you need to draw the other one, and then you need to play it, bounce it, and play it. If you don't draw it, if you don't draw the 2 together, are you going to be able to pull off the Caverns Below? I don't know. Probably not. Is Thistletea going to be a card? And like I said, if you're playing a Thistletea, it's turn 6 at the earliest. What if you don't play this until like turn 10? And then getting a bunch of 5/5s, you're probably dead. So that's my concern, is that Caverns from Below, you're not going to be able to pull it off in time to make it worth it. And you're playing a bunch of cheap minions and you're losing tempo because you're bouncing them back in order to play them. So you're not keeping the body on board to actually do anything. Hard to say. Hard to say. This quest I think is the most intriguing, and I think is the neatest, and is really well designed, and I think will be like fun to try to build a deck around, and I think could be really powerful. I don't see it right now. Like this one I think is going to require the most deck building and experimentation to see if it actually can work, and it may turn out to just suck. So honestly, if I was going to rate this card, I mean, I'm going to rate it a 5 to 10, you know? Like, it could be mediocre, it could be amazing. I just don't know. I won't know until we actually put it together. My gut feeling is that this is actually will be good, and I think it will be a really good card, but it's just strange. Anyway, moving on. Lost in the Jungle. Not much to say about this. 1 mana, Paladin card, summon 2, 1/1 Silverhand Recruits. I like this card. I think it will see a little bit of play. Too bad it's a spell and not a minion. It's not, I don't know, Silverhand Champion. 1/1 that summons a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit. Or, I don't know, Silverhand Recruiter. That would have been a cool card. 1/1 that summons a 1/1. Because then you could buff it and still get a 1/1. But I think the point of this is to try to combo it with either Steward of Darkshire and get 2 Argent Squires, which would be neat. Or, more likely, you're going to combo this with the Legend Sunkeeper Tarim, which is coming up, which basically casts Keeper Voldemort effect on everything on the board, turning everything into 3/3s, but it's a 3/7 with Taunt. So you play this and the Sunkeeper Tarim on 7 mana. You make a bunch of efficient trades. There you go. So I can see stuff going with this. I just don't think this card is that powerful. I don't know how much it's going to further what Paladin wants to do. I'd have to see other cards and see other synergies, and yeah, I just think on its own it's not that strong. And if everybody's getting an ability that summons 2 1/1s on turn 1, I mean, how helpful is that? Like, yay, I can trade into his patches and his N'Zoth's first mate? Huzzah? I don't know. 6. Pretty good. Probably will see play. Yeah. I don't know. Just not that impactful. Not really. Bringing me out. You know. Like I said, I mean, you know, we talked about, like, best case, worst case scenarios. Like, best case scenario, you play it on 1, it's pretty effective. Or, like I said, you combo it with other stuff. But worst case scenario, you top deck this, and then, yay, I got 2 1/1s. And, yeah. Staring into his fucking Queen Carnassa or his row of 3/2 fucking Raptors. Like, what is this card going to do to that? Nothing. So, yeah. 6 to 5, maybe even a 4. Lakari Sacrifice. Quest, discard 6 cards. Reward, Nether Portal. So what's a Nether Portal? A Nether Portal is a little doohickey on the board that cannot be interacted with. It takes up a minion slot, but at the end of every turn, it summons 2 3/2 imps. So the imps just keep on coming and coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. Now, I initially, before seeing the Queen Carnassa quest, looked at this one and I was like, this quest is ridiculous. Like, the value, 3/2s, 2 3/2s at the end of every turn, over and over and over again. And then I saw the Hunter quest and I was like, this quest sucks. Who gives a shit? Like, you'd have to build a completely different deck to get this to go off, and you're discarding cards, and you know, you're throwing away a lot of cards that you might actually want. I mean, are you going to make a zoo deck with this? With all the discard mechanics? You know, are you going to make a mid-range deck with this? I don't know. But I'll be honest, I think any deck that's making a Lakari Sacrifice deck should not be relying on Lakari Sacrifice to be their win condition. Because I honestly don't think it's going to have enough of an impact on the board to actually beat some of these other quests. Like, who gives a flying fuck about 2 imps when I'm dropping Amara, Warden of Hope, or I'm dropping Queen Carnassa, or I'm dropping a shitload of 5/5s on the board? Honestly, this one seems kind of weak to me now. When initially I saw it, I'm just like, this is incredible! So I think the deck that you make with this actually needs some alternate win conditions in order to pull this off. So originally I had thought this was going to fit into a zoo deck. I actually think the best deck you make with this is some sort of discard-oriented control mid-rangey deck. And like a Reno deck almost. Like something like that. Or like a handlock deck. Something where you're kind of controlling the board with minions and minions that have discard effects and things like that. So it's weird. Like the decks I was thinking I was going to make with this. But honestly, I don't even think those decks are that good. It just seems weird because like I feel like your cards are going to have more importance, and then by discarding them, you're not going to get a lot of the cards, and then this deck will be very inconsistent. I think it'll be kind of weak. And so I'm giving Lakari Sacrifice a 4. I've been souring on this card the more cards I see. But who knows? Maybe it'll be good. And I'm going to try to make a deck with every single quest. I mean, multiple decks with every single quest. So I think one of the things I'm really looking forward to in this expansion is just the sheer deck building, the joy of deck building. Like, I'm going to have videos for days when this expansion comes out. So pretty excited. But Lakari Sacrifice, like I said, 4. I mean, like, best case scenario, you get it out on turn 5 and you get a lot of value. But you're getting value. You're not overwhelming. You're slowly but surely overwhelming your opponent. Whereas some of the other quests, you just smash your opponent once your quest finishes. Done! Like, I'm fucking crushing this dude. I don't know. We'll see. It's weird because we're going to have a lot of times we're going to have a quest versus a quest deck. And who completes theirs first and whose quest has the most impact. And honestly, I think this quest doesn't have enough impact. Like, its impact is over many turns, but you may not finish this quest until turn 8 or 9, and then they're going to finish their quest. But then their quest gets finished, and they fucking play something the very next turn, and they're kicking your ass, whereas it takes like 3 or 4 turns for this Lakari Sacrifice Nether Portal to actually do something of legitimate significance. So, yeah, that's my beef. Awaken the Makers! We already went over this before, but there's a lot more Death Rattle minions now that appeal to this. I really like this quest. I think it's going to be really good. Molten Blade. 1 mana, 1/1. Each turn this is in your hand, transform into a new weapon. It's a warrior weapon. So, what is this? It's Shifter Xeris for weapons. Shifter Xeris sucks. So this is going to suck, right? Wrong. There's only so many weapons. 20, 25, 30, maybe? There's a shitload of minions. There's a shitload of crappy minions. Most weapons are pretty good. I think this card will actually see a significant amount of play, especially in warrior decks, especially in weapon-oriented warrior decks, that are best case scenario, you get your Doomhammer, you get your True Silver Champion, you get your Gorehowl, whatever, and there you go. More value, more weapons. Great. Cool, The randomness is kind of nutty, and it's a shitty top deck, right? It's a 1 mana, 1/1, so even when you swing, it's just going to break if you use it. So it does take a turn for it to come into effect, and I actually think that is the reason this card is not going to see as much play as it would initially seem. And being able to just have any fucking weapon from any class seems really powerful. You would think would be an auto-include or a double-include. I think it's probably going to be a one-of in fringy weapon-oriented decks. Like, I don't think Pirate Warrior is going to run this. Why? They already have all the weapons they need. Maybe just get one more weapon? It's possible, but what are you taking out? Like, I don't know. I don't think so. So I would see this happening more in a mid-rangey tempo, and maybe not tempo-oriented, but like I said, weapon-oriented deck. And is this going to be good enough to make the cut in those decks? It might or might not. Probably a one-of, So like I said, I'm going to give this like a 5. I think we'll see play, but I think it's a fairly run-of-the-mill, somewhat mediocre card. But the effect is neat. I think it's interesting. And I think there will be a lot of highlight reels that come out of this card, but I just don't see it having... The weapon and the situation need to line up. And that's really, really hard to do. Even with less choice of weapons. You're not getting Curse Blade. You're not getting Poison Blade. But... 5. People will try it. Honestly, it'll probably get cut from a lot of decks, is my guess. Thank you guys for watching these videos. If you like them, you can subscribe here, and you can watch the most recent videos here, and some of the best videos right here. Thank you again, guys. Keep learning, keep rocking, and the Rockstar will see you later.